guys, so as you guys can tell by the title of this video, I am going to be giving you guys some personal tips that I use to navigate around Disneyland. Now I know some of these tips may not work for everyone because it all depends on the time of the year, it depends on your personal preference for rides and shows, and it also depends on ride refurbishments because sometimes rides, depending on the time of the year, are closed. Now this video is just how my family and I personally like to navigate Disneyland and how we like to spend our day in Disneyland. This isn't just one of those tour book things. It was just how we personally like to spend our day, and we feel that whenever we spend our days like this, we do get the most of Disneyland. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. So I highly recommend being at Disneyland 20 to 30 minutes before park open, sometimes even earlier depending on the time of year. So during higher peak times, I would try to arrive a little bit earlier just so you can give yourself some time to get into the parking garage, get through security, and get onto the tram to Disneyland. I was so excited about my ticket. Yay! So you finally have made it into Disneyland. Now you might be wondering, well, what do we do first? So the first thing I always enjoy doing is taking a few pictures because throughout the day your hair and makeup gets a little bit messed up. So I love to take a few quick snaps first and then head off to ride some rides. The first order of business, get it? The first order? Oh gosh, sorry, I'm horrible with puns. Is we're heading off to Tomorrowland. I highly recommend designating one member of your family to be the ticket/fast pass holder for the day. It just makes things easier when you're in a bigger group and you need to go get fast passes and the fast pass queue is a bit long. So after you get your fast passes, we are going to head off and actually go ride a ride. Alright, so now that you have your fast pass for Space Mountain, decide if you want to stay in Tomorrowland or if you want to explore another area of the park. Typically, my family and I head over to New Orleans Square and we ride Haunted Mansion and Pirates. But sometimes we do walk over and ride Matterhorn because typically in the morning the wait times are super short compared to later in the afternoon. Now after you've ridden a few rides, it should be almost to that 2-hour mark. And one thing that's great about Disneyland's Fast Pass system is that you can get a Fast Pass every 2 hours. Yes, every 2 hours, which is amazing. So after you get your fast pass, on the very bottom in fine print, it'll tell you when you're eligible to get your next fast pass. So by the time you ride Matterhorn, Pirates, Haunted Mansion, or even the Jungle Cruise if you wanted, you can run over and go get a fast pass for Indiana Jones. And that's typically what we like to do, because by the time you can get a fast pass for Indiana Jones, you can run over and use your Space Mountain fast pass. So now that you've used your Space Mountain fast pass, that's typically when we decide if we want to ride Astro Blasters or Star Wars. Now, that's kind of like our two least favorite ride, only because Star Tours always gets my mom and I sick, so we just typically don't like to ride that one, but if you wanted to ride it, now's your time to ride it. Astro Blasters is a ride that everyone can ride, so it typically does get pretty busy, so it is another one that we decide to pass up. So if you did decide to ride Astro Blasters or Star Tours or even both, that is completely fine. So typically after that we would head over to Fantasyland and we typically ride the rides to the left first. Why? I don't know. So we would typically ride Snow White and Pinocchio first, and then if Peter Pan has a short wait time, which never happens, it just never happens, then we will ride Peter Pan, but we don't really get to ride that one very often because it's always a 45-minute to an hour wait time. Sad, I know. Sometimes we'll jump over and we'll ride the carousel, we'll go over and ride Mr. Toad, and if we're lucky we'll ride Dumbo, but that one doesn't happen either because everyone wants the cute pictures on the Dumbo ride, so we don't really get to ride that one either. So typically after we ride a few rides in Fantasyland, our fast pass for Indiana Jones is typically ready, so then we head all the way back over to Adventureland and ride Indiana Jones. So after we ride Indiana Jones, we're typically hungry for a snack or even for a full lunch. And Disneyland has the most amazing restaurants and quick service restaurants. So what you want to do is pull out your park map and look on the map and see what you're in the mood for. Disneyland offers a variety of places to eat. So the 3 places I enjoy eating a quick lunch is the French Quarter over in New Orleans Square, the Golden Horseshoe in Frontierland, and the Village House over back in Fantasyland. So after lunch, one thing we really like to do is to pull out our lovely park map and see what time the next showing of Mickey and the Magical Map is. It is such a cute little show, and a lot of people don't know about it because it's kind of tucked away over in Fantasyland. You really only need to be there about 20 minutes before because it's a huge amphitheater, so there's tons of seating, but I highly recommend watching this show. Now, if you're not into shows, you can just skip that whole part and skip to the next step of what we do. So after we watch Mickey and the Magical Map, we like to go over to Toontown because Toontown is right next to where the amphitheater is at. So we'll head over to Toontown, usually ride Roger Rabbit, maybe meet a few characters. Because Toontown is actually where Mickey and Minnie's house and Goofy's house is at, and I think Chippendale's tree is there as well. And Donald Duck has like a little boat. So all the characters are back there, so you can meet a lot of your favorite characters back there, which is pretty cool. But Toontown isn't that big, so you only need maybe 45 minutes to an hour. After we leave Toontown, we usually like to head over to It's a Small World. Now, I know some people don't like It's a Small World, but if you've never been to Disneyland, ride the Disneyland one. It's a little bit different than the one you've probably ridden in Disney World, for those who are watching Disney World, and there's hidden characters throughout it, so it's pretty cool. So now that we've ridden It's a Small World, you can head back over to Fantasyland and ride any of the rides you may have missed earlier, or ride a ride you wanted to ride again. That's totally up to you. One thing we like to go over and do and ride is the Storybook Canal. This is one of my favorite rides, and it's such a little kiddie ride, and it may not be the most exciting ride for some, but I really love this ride. So depending on the time of the year that you are visiting Disneyland, there may or may not be a daytime parade. Now, if there is a daytime parade and you want to watch it, by all means, go watch it. Typically, my family and I don't watch the parades because we'd rather go ride rides. But if you want to go watch the parades, I highly recommend going and watching the parades. Just make sure that you are in a spot about 30 minutes to an hour before the daytime parade. Now, if you're wanting to watch one of the nighttime parades, that's going to be a little bit different because Paint the Night and Electrical Parade are widely popular parades right now. So you'll want to get there maybe an hour or two beforehand. Now you may be thinking, well, Sarah, I don't like watching parades. I don't really care for shows. What else can I do? Well, if you aren't a parade person, completely fine. My family and I don't watch parades every single time we're there. You know, we'd rather go ride rides or go grab a nice dinner. And that's what I recommend doing. Before you arrive to Disneyland, once you find out, oh, we're going to Disneyland, go onto Disneyland's website and reserve a dining reservation. My favorite place to eat is Blue Bayou, which is the restaurant in the Pirates ride. It's just a great atmosphere. You have the New Orleans theme, the Bayou theme, like it's just a really lovely atmosphere, and the food is amazing. My family and I like to do the sit-down restaurants only because it's nice to sit down, relax a little bit for, you know, an hour, hour and a half. Now, if you're on more of a budget, feel free to go into any of the quick service restaurants. So the rest of the night is completely up to you. Typically, my family and I, after we've had a nice dinner, we may stay and ride a few more rides. We may stay for the fireworks, depending on how tired we are and if we have to get up early the next morning. So the rest of the night is pretty much up to you and your family on what you want to do. You may want to go re-ride a ride, or go ride a ride that you couldn't ride earlier in the day because it was broken down or the line was too long. So it's completely up to you what you want to do for the night, but I do highly recommend watching the fireworks or watching one of the nighttime parades, especially if Paint the Night is around during the time you're visiting. Highly recommend watching it. It's such a great parade. It is my favorite parade, I guess. It's not one of my favorite, it is my favorite parade. So I really highly recommend watching Paint the Night. Now, if you do decide to watch Paint the Night, be there at least 90 minutes before the parade, depending on where you want to sit. If you want to sit on Main Street, I'd get there maybe 2 hours before. But if you want to sit over by It's a Small World, I'd say an hour to 90 minutes before the parade time because it gets packed. Like, I'm not even exaggerating how packed the streets get for this parade. So you girls may be asking, well, Sarah, you've completely forgot to cover the most important thing for me. Shopping. We all need Disneyland merch, right? So one thing that's great about Disneyland is even though the park is closed, all the shops on Main Street stay open for an extra hour. So towards the end of the night, as you're heading down Main Street, you can run through all the little shops and do your shopping there. Or if you're exiting towards downtown Disney, you can always go to World of Disney. And alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I put so much work into this and I really would appreciate it if you guys give this a big thumbs up. And comment down below if you guys think I should do a little bit more tip videos, because this is more of a newer area for me, because they are a lot of fun than the typical vlog style. Alright, well I hope you guys have a magical day. Bye!